Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel. I'm a program director at Sarah Michelle NP Reviews, and I'm also a women's health family nurse practitioner. So, this is a video I put together about a lot of the common questions I get as a family nurse practitioner working in a specialty. Just a little bit about how I got into this specialty, what a typical day is like for me, and then just overall advice I have for new grads or anyone applying to jobs. So, how did I get into OBGYN? My main number one piece of advice and how I got into a specialty is networking. So, I actually go to the gym with the husband of one of the owners of the OBGYN practice that I work at. And we happened to be talking one day, and I was like, hey, I really need a women's health preceptor while I was in school. And he said, oh, my wife would definitely be willing to do that. Why don't you reach out to her? And I have to be honest, I was a little nervous to do this, but in my second piece of advice here, I took it to heart and I wasn't afraid of no. So I reached out and I said, hi, I need a women's health preceptor. Are you willing to do X amount of hours? And I actually ended up staying at this office for over 800 hours, which was really amazing. Prior to this, I was certain I wanted to go into pediatrics, but then after this rotation, I truly fell in love with women's health and OBGYN. And after I graduated, I reached back out and I said, hi, I'm just wondering if you have any openings. And they did. And that is how I got my first job, which was in a specialty. Another big piece of advice I have is to use a resume service. I really felt like when I was in school, this helped me stand out against other students when I was applying to clinical rotations and when I was applying to jobs. There are so many great resume services out there, and they really do help you stand out from the rest. So, what type of patients do I see? I see a lot of annual exams. You would probably be surprised to know that many people use our office as their primary care provider. And whether that's right or wrong, who's to say? But I can definitely be a good resource for them and give them a thorough exam while reminding them that some things like high blood pressure or high cholesterol really should be managed in primary care. But other than that, I still do heart and lung sounds. So those haven't gone away just because I'm in a specialty. And then obviously, I do things like pap smears and breast exams and just overall sexual well being exams. I do a lot of prenatal visits, which can be fun and nerve wracking, but I do like to be a good resource for my patients throughout their pregnancy so they always know and feel supported by our office. I also do urgent visits. These can be things like postmenopausal bleeding, any sort of abdominal pain, or just general problem visits like painful menses, birth control consults. I do IUDs, oral contraceptives, and I'm trained on Nexplanon insertions and removals. So that's generally what makes up my day is any sort of these three types of visits. Who do I work alongside? So I'm so blessed to work with a great team at my office. I work with other family nurse practitioners who kind of broke into the OBGYN field just like I did. And then I also work with women's health NPs who are almost the same, but a little different track that they took to get there. But we work together in a collaborative setting, and it's so super great. They are great resources for me, especially when I was starting out. We do have some midwives at our office too, who I really lean on, especially for the prenatal side of things, because they work in our office and they work at the hospital we are affiliated with. So they are able to really help me see a lot of the hospital side of things or how things might work once my patients do get to the hospital for delivery. I have a wonderful team of physicians that I also work with. I'm lucky enough to work with MDs and DOs, which really gives our office a collaborative setting. And they have been so integral and supportive of me in my first couple years of practice. We are also lucky to have ultrasound in-house, which can be very helpful for any urgent prenatal visits or any urgent GYN visits as well. Ultrasound techs are highly trained and they're super helpful for helping me determine, is this urgent? Can this wait? They show me the film, they walk me through it. It's a really nice collaboration that we have in our office between all of these different types of providers and support staff. So, what is a typical day like? I typically work 8 to 3. Our office opens at 8, so I typically do the first appointment of the day. Some of our providers come in later and then stay later to see some of the late appointments of the day, but my first appointment is typically at 8. Visit times vary for me. For annual visits, I really do try to keep the 30 minutes to even 45 minutes for those because I really feel like it's important to do a thorough examination of my patients and not just kind of whip them along quickly. I also really do like to get to know my patients. I like to have that rapport with them so they really feel like they can come to me and come to our office if they're having any problems or questions. A lot of these things do feel very confidential to patients, especially when it comes to sexual health or sexuality. So, giving them that time to really open up and feel like they're in a safe place is super important to me and important to my office as a whole, which was also a piece of why I chose to work at this office. I do have some schedule flexibility, which is also nice. As I mentioned, I'm able to take 30-minute appointments and make them into 45-minute appointments if I need to, which is really nice and allows me to kind of assess patient by patient who might need just a little bit more time for their visit. Some of my other visits are just simple 15-minute visits, as we're all used to as NPs. These can be quick things like IUD checks or OCP checks. Sometimes quick ultrasound reads are also 15 minutes, or some of my quick prenatal visits, although ideally I still do like half an hour for those, just so my patients don't feel like I'm just trying to move them in and out. So, what do I love about my job? This is a loaded question because I love everything about my job. I really love the patient population I work with. Providing those education opportunities for patients is so huge for me. I obviously love teaching, which is why I'm at Sarah Michelle NP Reviews as well. But applying that teaching to a clinical setting is also so wonderful. A lot of my patients come to me and they say, "Hey, Rachel, I just really didn't receive great sex education when I was in school." And so providing them that open dialogue to really go back and forth and answer all of their questions is so important to me. And I really love that about women's health and OBGYN. Another piece that I love so much is working with a great team. So, as I mentioned before, I work with physicians, I work with midwives, I work with other NPs. We have RNs on staff, I have MAs, even from our front desk staff. Everyone is super great and really supportive, which I found so helpful when I was first getting started because that imposter syndrome is real. Just know everyone goes through it and you will get through it with the right support. But a really important question I would definitely ask at any interview is, how does your team work together day to day? Just knowing you have that support can be the confidence boost you need to really apply that knowledge that you've learned throughout your RN career and now your beginning NP career. So that is a really important piece and something I would definitely ask about in any interviews you go on. So, just some words of wisdom before I let everyone go. My number one being, don't sell yourself short. All of that hard work you put in as a nurse through school to become a nurse practitioner shouldn't go to waste. Even if you feel like, ooh, I'm not really sure if I'm truly qualified for this job, apply for it. You don't know 100% what they're looking for. Just go for it. You've put in all these years, you have the knowledge, utilize that to your advantage. My second word of wisdom is to reach out to everyone you know, and I mean everyone. Anyone you used to go to school with, clinical instructors, or like I did, anyone who has any tie to the medical field. You never know who is looking for a new nurse practitioner or who will say yes. Even if they say we're not hiring right now, you don't know in a couple months or even a couple weeks maybe that they might be hiring and they'll reach out and say, hey, we know you sent in your resume. Is now a good time to interview? Or you can always call around. So, a lot of jobs don't even make it online. I would definitely call all clinics in your area and just send over your resume if they're open to it. You never know when an opportunity is going to arise. And my last word of wisdom is to utilize resources. So by now, I hope you are all part of the Sarah Michelle NP Reviews Facebook group. And if you've already graduated and already taken your boards, I hope you join the new NP group. These can be great places to learn about new jobs, get some pointers on how to apply to jobs, and just an overall supportive community. And always feel free to reach out to me in the new nurse practitioner group. I'm always happy to discuss becoming a nurse practitioner in the women's health field or just general advice on applying for jobs and landing that dream job.